Hi everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations and welcome to another Patreon subscriber chart reading. I hope you're well today. Another opportunity to get stuck into an astrology chart and to share the magic of evolutionary astrology, and also to deepen our awareness and cultivate our sense of understanding around what does it mean to understand soul and how do we use an astrology chart to activate that awareness within ourselves, to nurture that connection, to find that sense of purpose and meaning within ourselves. So as always, I'm deeply honored to not only be able to do this, but to share it with you as well. And so thank you very much for your time and attention and all of your support. So before I jump into the astrology chart today, I do want to ask you that if you would like this type of experience happen to yourself, go check out our Patreon page. And in the description below, as well as the links, there is, as well as the comments, there is a link. And you just click on that link, it will take you straight to our Patreon page. And you subscribe to the Jupiter member with all the other fun stuff that you get with being a Jupiter member. And you give us your birth details. And once that's been done, you'll go into a list and I'll process these as fast as I can. And I think it's a great way to be able to not only concentrate and nurture your soul's journey, but also to have an opportunity like this happen as well. So go check that out. All right, so what have we got here? Let's start off with the nature of Pluto. We know that Pluto is the evolutionary intention of the soul. So the soul's intention here with Pluto sitting in the 9th house, it's a pretty big deal considering that Mercury is there, the Sun is there, Uranus is there, and Venus is there. So just briefly, Pluto in the 9th house with its connection to Mercury, Sun, Uranus, and Venus is to say, hey, I'm here to really understand the context of my communication, my self-actualization, my purpose, my sense of what is my individuality versus how can I reshape the way that consensus ways thinking, and also to recognize what my self-worth is and my needs. This is a very big part of that constellation that sits all the way in Libra in the 9th house there. So let's go have a look at the picture that I've chosen for this conversation today. I began a mission to find my own truth because I trusted my inner voice. Love it. Walking my talk, right? Walking my talk, right? Walking your truth and your talk, Mercury conjunct Pluto. I began a mission to find my own truth, discovery, self-discovery, and because I trusted my inner voice. And so this is really important for the soul to hear in terms of this chart, because you can look over there, Mercury conjunct Pluto in the 9th house. The soul's desire is to say, what is the context of my life in relationship to my truth? What is the phenomena of reality? Why am I here? Why are you here? Why is this existence? How did we get here? Do you see the nature of these questions? Can you see the depth in which they're inviting our self-understanding to exist within? So with the 9th house Pluto, this is a soul that's going to say, I'm understanding myself in relationship to everything else, Libra, and it's the phenomena of reality. Now, generally speaking, with 9th house Pluto souls, if you've got this, there can be a tendency to live in a world in which you're deeply isolated, right? You're deeply alienated as well, because part of your life is around wanting to feel connected, but yet your deep, insatiable need and desire for understanding truth is so profound that you actually find yourself having communication with other people that leaves you going, but there's more to it. It's not just that simple. And you find yourself recreating a sense of identity that's linked with, nobody gets me. I don't understand. So you kind of go away into a reality, into a world where you study also esoterics and, all these types of deep things. And you notice that the world around you kind of just stays behind in their own story. So the empowerment journey in this lifetime is to embrace the idea of diversity, and that each of us is on a path, on a mission to find their own truth. And that truth is not defined through what yours is, but what everybody else is to themselves, as you are finding that within yourself. So your truth is what you're discovering. And you can express that and you can share that with the world and you can allow deep understanding to exist. But it's very important to not allow your own truth to be held as another person's, just as another person's is not held for your own in this lifetime. Okay? So the empowerment journey is through relatability as well, because you're a part of a Pluto and Libra generation. So you came into this world with not knowing how to meet your needs. You were able to meet everybody else's needs, but your own needs were not met. And so you need to grow into a life of understanding your needs, which if you have a look on the chart over here, you can see that you've got the North Node and Mars right on the top of each other, okay? And it's in Aquarius. And you can see there's a repeating theme here. You've got Uranus conjunct Venus, and then you've got Mars conjunct the North Node in Aquarius in the second house. So what does that tell you? The soul wants to, in this lifetime, go, hey, I want to walk my own path. I want to become self-reliant. I want to recognize my individuality. But part of that is also learning how to heal your trauma. You actually have to go into your trauma with the North Node in Aquarius and heal that process. So you can see with this nodal axis, let's go ahead and look at what picture I've chosen for this. Okay. Only the self-sufficient stand alone. Most people follow the crowd or the crown and imitate. On this particular instance, do you see the lone wolf? The story of looking at reality from your unique perspective and not wanting to follow the crowd. Aquarius, Uranus, I don't want to believe in the values of society. I don't want to believe in the values of their truths, their cultural definitions. But how do I find integration? So I love to be self-sufficient. I want to be self-sufficient, but I also know that part of self-sufficiency means, and being alienated or isolated means no connection. So you can see here with the South Node in the 8th house Leo, and the planetary ruler of that being the Sun, right? And that's on top of Mercury and top of Uranus. The soul has been looking in prior life dynamics to feel embrace, to be welcomed, to be accepted, to be held, and to know what that feels like, where their unique truth, their own vision of their unique perception of individuality and so on and so forth is understood, but also that they can be with like-minded people. And part of the North Node and the Mars in the Aquarius in the 7th house, in the second house, is a soul that wants to say, but I also want to liberate you from your own structures, your own ideals about what you think reality is. So it's this interesting paradox where the soul's like, okay, so I communicate my truth, right? All of that stuff over there, but I'm also deeply, deeply reminded of my own woundedness that comes from being assertive in my expression. Chiron and Aries in the 3rd house, right? My separation is, how can I connect? How can I feel that the community can hear me? How do I allow for my uniqueness, individuality to be integrated into it? So here I sit with my truth. I want to liberate you. I want to help. It's all about Libra. I'm here for the other. And yet at the same time, there's this conflict of, but if I do that, how many times do I really get embraced for that truth because it might be too far out or it might be too unique? So the skill set here with this type of symbolism is to say, I honor my own path, I accept myself, I understand my own purpose, and I create material or inspiration for others to see, and whatever comes my way, whatever gets inspired through that process is from their own natural uniqueness and wanting. And so by doing that, you create the karmic dynamic of allowing people to embrace you of their own choice versus the desire to convince and convert with so much of the Sagittarius stuff. Now, this is not something that the soul struggles with completely. It's just an aspect or dynamic that can play out. But because Chiron's involved here, there can be a tendency to feel that woundedness. And so this is an invitation to understand the context of communication. It's not a coincidence that Saturn's in the 6th house there, and it's also retrograde. It's at 13 degrees Gemini. It's actually, in fact, on top of, I'm 3 degrees off my North Node, my own personal North Node. So I know that connection is important. I know that communication is important, and validation of emotions and feelings and my needs. These are a big part of my own personal story. And with the Saturn there also connecting to Mars and Aquarius in the 2nd house, there's a tendency for those needs to be known, to be communicated, to be understood. And yet the individuality is so strong in the chart that sometimes those needs are too far out or too radical. So it's about finding a balance. And that's what the Neptune Jupiter is all about in opposition to the Saturn Moon cycle over there. Okay. So let's go have a look at what the growth cycle is for this chart. One of the many. Okay. My brain has too many tabs open. Being overwhelmed. A very big part of this type of symbolism is just getting overly overwhelmed. Why? Because think about the tabs, right? I'm sure at some point you've had like multiple tabs open. Feel how your brain is trying to understand the complexity of all of those universes, right? Look at the nature of, hold on, I actually haven't changed that. Sorry, guys. My brain has too many tabs open. Let's start there. Okay, let's go back to the chart. Saturn in Gemini in the 6th house, crisis in multiple realities, multiple experiences. Oppose Neptune and Jupiter, expansion of the multiple universes, all in Sagittarius. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Wow, that's amazing. Whoa, this is overwhelming. And with all of the stuff there in the 9th house in Sagittarius, the tendency to become overwhelmed with so much information and so much awareness of all things can lead to a deep fracturing within the context of not only the soul's psyche, but within their own sense of what they value within the context of all of those things. It just becomes scattered. So you can see here that there's a tendency to become too scattered and too overwhelmed, and then creates emotional fracturing, which leads the soul to then not have a sense of nourishment, a sense of groundedness, moon in Taurus, right, in the 5th house. So self-reliance, self-consistency, self-acceptance is a big part of the story, but it's also about recognizing that those modules of thinking is rooted in saying, I'm going to accept one thing at a time, I'm going to nourish one thing at a time, I'm going to nurture one thing at a time, and then through this process, I will allow myself deep exploration to take place. Okay? So what is the gift that the soul carries in this lifetime, right? Let's have a look over here. Everybody can see the screen. Let's go ahead. The gift, compassion. Compassion is not a religious business. Pluto 9th house. Jupiter conjunct Neptune. In Sagittarius, it's human business. It is not a luxury, right? Moon in Taurus, in opposition to all of those things. It is essential for one's own peace and mental stability. It is essential for human survival, compassion, empathy, right? I want you to look at this chart and I want you to see these complexes play out, right? Essential for human peace. Moon in the 5th house, Taurus, essential part of my existence. Uranus conjunct Venus. North Node in Aquarius conjunct Mars in the 5th house, essential. It's not a luxury, right? It's something that we need to imply within ourselves. It's not a religious archetypal structure. Pluto in the 9th house, Mercury, Sun, all of that in the 9th house. This is where we recognize that sometimes in our lives, we have been given things that are deeply overwhelming, that we can't understand, that we can't process, and they fracture us, they fragment us. So this is an invitation to step into a process of allowing empathy not only for yourself, but allowing the process of empathy to actually bound and heal you together. And this is a soul's gift over here. I truly believe it. I know the soul on a personal level through interactions and having a reading done with this person as well long ago. And I know that this is a dynamic of intense amounts of self-reflected acceptance. And through that process, being able to help humanity, Aquarius, see that this is about establishing sustainability in our humanness when we are emotionally wounded, when we are emotionally fractured. And to bring us back to closer together relative to the wars, relative to the aggression, relative to the pain. South Node in the 8th house Leo, the soul comes from knowing what love can be and being embracing of that love, being sustainable of that love. Okay? All right, everybody, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to do this video with you. And I hope that you got a lot out of this conversation today. And if you want to support this, or if you would like to have your own astrology reading done, come over to Patreon, okay? And check out the Jupiter member or other member sites or other member tiers if you want to. And how do you access that? Description or link, the links there as well as the comments below, okay? Other than that, everybody, have a wonderful week and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.